All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I do want to thank you all for being here tonight, and I want to be respectful of the time that you've committed to hearing more about how to volunteer at MCPS and how to volunteer specifically at Ashburton. Again, I want to thank you for being here tonight. I shared that I have been dropping the presentation into the chat. Feel free to follow along with me. The benefit of having that PDF open is that you have access to some of the links and resources that I am sharing with you this evening. As you noticed, we are recording this meeting. I'm going to be sharing it with the larger community at the conclusion of today. So for those of you that have not had the opportunity to meet yet, and I do hope that I get that opportunity when you come in to volunteer with us. My name is Greg Mullenholz, and I'm the proud principal here at Ashburton. And I want to say that I'm really, really excited to be sharing this with you this evening. We are really excited to be bringing back volunteers to Ashburton. We look for these signs along the way of what it means to be fully reopened. And each time we have one of these things added back into the community, we know that we're headed in the right direction. So we're looking forward to bringing you back as volunteers. But one of the things we really want to point out is that it's going to look a little bit different this year than it has in years past. Obviously, the emphasis is going to be on the health and safety of all of our staff, students, and visitors, while at the same time welcoming back volunteers. I do want to say volunteers play a critical role in making Ashburton what Ashburton is. And so for tonight, we're going to talk about a couple of things. First off, we're going to talk about the steps, some of them new, to becoming a volunteer in MCPS and therefore at Ashburton. We'll talk specifically about the volunteer requirements. I'm going to walk you through completing those volunteer requirements through MCPS Parent View because I did so as a parent this weekend. I screenshotted everything that I did so that I knew exactly what you were experiencing as a principal. Those two requirements that you're going to complete are one, the recognizing and reporting child abuse and neglect module, and two, the vaccination certification. So I'm going to show you and talk you through both of those. MCPS has also provided a handy Parent View volunteer requirement guide that you can use as you walk through those steps. And then I'm going to actually share some up and coming volunteer opportunities here at Ashburton. One of them is actually this week. One of them begins next week. One of them you'll get information about next week. And one of them is going to be happening in November. So we've got plenty of volunteer opportunities. Again, your attendance tonight means that you get first dibs on some of the opportunities that are available, because I also know that you've been here, you've heard the information, and you are fully prepared to volunteer at Ashburton. And so just a couple of quick things. Our etiquette for the meeting tonight, we're going to work through a quick presentation. I'd ask that you stay on mute throughout until we get to that questions time, at which point there's a small enough group here tonight, about 14 or 15 participants. You can unmute yourself, but feel free to use the chat to elevate questions throughout. There will be time for questions and answers at the end. And then at the conclusion of this, all of the resources will be provided to the community, including a recording of this meeting. And so I'm going to kind of highlight the steps in advance for how you become a volunteer in MCPS. The first is that you're going to complete that recognizing and reporting child abuse and neglect module. Those of you that have been with us before, probably not so much last year because there wasn't as much of a need for volunteers given the virtual status that we were in. But the recognizing and reporting child abuse and neglect module, or what we lovingly call RCAN, has existed for many years in MCPS. The good news is if you completed that module during the 2019-2020 school year, during the 2020-21 school year, or if you've already completed it this year, you will not have to do that again. I'll walk you through how you know if you've completed that, and then also offer you the opportunity to just give the office a quick buzz to let us know if you need help with that. The new part is going to be certifying your vaccination status, and this is going to have a very specific approach to it. I'll flag this here to say that the vaccination cards that many of you are probably carrying around with you are not going to be considered accurate documentation of your vaccination status. I'm going to walk you through a simple process for getting that vaccine certificate. All MCPS employees were actually required to go through this process, and it takes all of 30 seconds. My wife is a pre-K teacher in the county, and I made her think that it took me about 30 minutes because I wanted her to think that it was this labor of love. But in all honesty, I helped her do hers, and it took about 30 seconds. And then I'm going to tell you about some volunteer opportunities and how you can register for them. One really notable change this year is that all volunteer opportunities in this school year have to be both managed and monitored by school administrators. So I was looking for a lot more work, and we decided that this was the route that we were going to go. I wanted to be scheduling volunteers and managing vaccine status. I kid, but it is something that we're doing to make sure that all of our volunteers are vaccinated, and that all of our students, staff, and visitors are safe and healthy at all times. So let's talk about some of these requirements. I mentioned the recognizing and reporting child abuse and neglect module. As long as you've done it in the last 3 years, you are going to be good to go, but I'll talk to you about how to verify that status. And also, I want to point out that MCPS has provided this interactive volunteer training guide that'll walk you through everything I share with you this evening. So fear not, there is a paper trail that you can follow through with. This, of course, is linked to the presentation and will be provided to you as it was at the weekend community message, and it will be throughout this presentation. So MCPS has established this reporting child abuse and neglect website. There's components of it that talk about what the process is for reporting child abuse and neglect, what our work as mandated reporters is, and then also how you as a volunteer actually will go through that online training for volunteers. So there's information how you can access it through here, but I'm going to pause to say that this has now been fully integrated with your Parent View account, and it is very simple to do. As I said, I went through the process this weekend. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. There's information here about what contractors do, what outside volunteers have to do, but I want to assure you, when you hear things like background check, they're not talking about the day-to-day volunteers that we bring into the school. Background checks are primarily done for individuals that might work in other programs, that might be volunteering where there's no direct oversight of school personnel. These are contractors, tutors, other programs. That is not what I'm referring to tonight. Your 2 steps are the recognizing and reporting child abuse and neglect module, as well as the vaccination certification step. And so I'm going to flag one resource for you. And again, I do provide this direct link for you at the end of the presentation, but My IR Mobile, believe it or not, if you've been vaccinated in the state of Maryland and many other states, there's actually a website you can go to. This takes all of 30 seconds. They search some basic information, and then you can download a PDF of your vaccination certification. Mine is actually to the right. I've told you before in many meetings, and I have no problem sharing this with you. I am fully vaccinated. The state of Maryland has provided me through My IR Mobile with this vaccination certificate you see to the right. And I used it to upload to become a volunteer at my daughter's school if the opportunities should present themselves. In the MCPS guide that you can access, they provide the certificate of COVID vaccination through the state of Maryland, obviously, I'm sharing with you. But also through the District of Columbia, Virginia, and West Virginia, if that's something that you need access to. They give you the steps that you can take. I mentioned that you can only upload a certificate of vaccination. You cannot use your vaccine card to become a volunteer, but you can also get a letter or other verification from your health insurance provider. That's another avenue I have through my health insurer. There's a way that I could do it, but I wasn't quite able to figure it out. And the way that I shared with you is going to be much faster. Or you can also get a letter from your primary care physician attesting to your vaccine status. No matter what, you're going to upload it through Parent View, and I'm going to show you how to do that tonight. But these are the only 3 acceptable forms of vaccination certification that you can use to become a volunteer in MCPS. So let's talk about how you actually complete the RCAM module and how you upload your vaccination certificate to become a volunteer. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to log into your Parent View account. I do link you directly at the end of the presentation if you've not been on Parent View in a while. They also have a friendly mobile app, which I do recommend that all of you download. All of that information is, of course, available to you in the Parent View portal, but I'll send you have the link at the end of this presentation for how to access that directly. Once you get there, this is my daughter Lily's account. She gets her looks and her personality from her mother, and she's fortunate for having both of those. You'll come to the landing page. On the landing page on the left side, you see the tab that says Parent Resources. You're going to want to click that Parent Resources tab, which then opens up this. And luckily, there's really only 2 things there that you need to be concerned with. The one that you're going to want to access is the My MCPS Classroom. Once you access the My MCPS Classroom, it looks something like this, although it's going to depend upon your children, where they are in MCPS, and what information you have access to. But you'll notice that if you select the Resources tab at the bottom there, At the very top, it says volunteer training. So they've elevated it right to the top for you. And once you do that, you're going to enroll in the course. And so you click that blue enroll in course button. And once you do, you'll see the following two tabs, one that's highlighted in blue and the other one that's in gray. It says recognizing and reporting child abuse and neglect. You'll be able to complete the module itself right there in the language of your choice. So you'll work through that module. Once you complete the module, it will notify the system that you've completed the first volunteer requirement. Once you've completed that recognizing and reporting child abuse and neglect module, you can complete the COVID-19 vaccination and safety module. Right now, it's available primarily in English and in Spanish. But once you enter into that module, this is what it looks like. You'll be asked some very simple questions. It does not take long at all. You're going to attest that you are fully vaccinated, meaning that you are 2 weeks beyond that second dose of your vaccine. You'll upload, it says, have you received a COVID-19 vaccination? If that is the case and you are fully vaccinated, select yes. You'll then use number 2 to upload that COVID vaccine certificate, the letter from your insurer, or the letter from your primary care physician. And then they're going to ask you 3 other questions. You have to say yes to all of them. But do you agree to follow the protocols for COVID safety when working with students at MCPS? Hopefully you say yes. If not, we thank you for being with us tonight, but we do need you to do things like wear a mask, maintain as much social distance as you can, and they'll talk about the other agreements. Do you agree to report any close contact or symptoms of COVID-19? Just like we agree, knowing when you're scheduled to volunteer, to alert you if you might be a direct contact with someone that we have a confirmed positive COVID-19 case for. We're asking the same, that you would let us know if you have been in contact with someone who has COVID-19 confirmed, or if you yourself are having symptoms of that. Again, obviously, if either was the case, you just wouldn't come to volunteer that day. But obviously, if it happens after the fact, you'll also be in touch with us. And then again, reminding everyone to stay home if when they experience any possible symptoms of COVID-19. And then the other thing is you're just going to verify yes or no that the information above is correct. Again, this one does not take long. And once you've done that, you've completed that. I want you to don't be worried. In the guide, it also explains this. If you only get 83.33333% as a score on that COVID-19 vaccination module, you're all good. They can't give you points for uploading a document, but an 83.333 means that you have done so correctly. So again,
can I ask a question? I don't know if I should have put it in the chat. Sorry, Mr. Mullenholz. Let me know if you'd prefer I chatted.
Yeah, so what we're asking is that you put questions in the chat, or when right after I finish this piece, there's going to be a question and answer period where you can take yourself off mute.
Okay, sorry, I'll do that.
No, I've only got like 3 more slides, so you are getting close. All right, so once you've completed those 2 steps, and only after you've completed those 2 steps, then you may volunteer for the opportunities at Ashburton. I want to share with you what we've got available right now. The first off is just a couple of quick reminders. Anytime you're volunteering, come through the main entrance. Bring a driver's license with you because you will be signing in using the visitor management system. That connects to our sex offender registry, but it's also where we're documenting volunteer hours. The system will automatically print a VMS sticker, which you will wear proudly, and we're even sweetening the deal by providing you with volunteer lanyards so that our staff know exactly who you are, that you are fully vaccinated, and that you are here to volunteer. Always have fun. Being back in the building with kids and with staff has been a true joy, and we want to share that with our volunteers as well. So please do have fun. When you exit, please make sure that you go back to the VMS, the visitor management system, that you're exiting through that. You're signing up through that. Return our lanyards to us because they are in short supply. And then you'll exit through the main entrance. A couple of reminders. Please refrain from using your cell phones while volunteering. Please refrain from taking photographs or video. We know the kids are photogenic, but we really want to hold off on that because we don't know that you're photographing your own child where it could be other children involved. Report only to your volunteer location. I know that everybody wants to peep around and see what's going on. But again, health and safety are first and foremost. Please no side trips or extra visits. Have fun again. I want to highlight that enough. If you have questions or concerns about anything COVID related, student behavior related, schedule related, just find one of the staff members and they can certainly answer that for you. Please do know that pack your own water, but the restrooms are available in the hallway and main office for you to use. So here's the volunteer opportunities. We're still in need of 2 volunteers, one on September the 28th, which is tomorrow from 12 to 3:15 to support our Maryland Agricultural Education Foundation trailer. It's a beautiful facility. It's currently parked in our parking lot. It happens that Miss Gilman and Miss Neminzo's classes are going in the afternoon tomorrow. And then on Monday, October the 4th, the same deal. Miss Horowitz, Miss Deek, and Miss Moore are going, but in the morning from 8:45 to 12:30. So if your children happen to be in those classes and you happen to be have the time to volunteer for us, please use the Sign Up Genius in that presentation to do so there. We are welcoming back lunch and recess volunteers starting next Monday. We are limiting it to 1 volunteer per grade level per day. So that's 6 volunteers max a day. We've created a Sign Up Genius. Again, being here tonight, you have first access to this. We know you may want to volunteer every single day for the same lunch period, but we do ask that you spread the love a little bit, leave some blanks in there for other parents. And we've extended our sign up all the way through the end of the first marking period. Each volunteer shift follows the grade level, either from lunch to recess, I apologize for the misspelling, or from recess to lunch. If there is inclement weather days, we cannot have volunteers in the classroom supporting indoor recess. So you will have the option to only come for the lunch period that you signed up for, or if you're feeling up to it, you can stay for the additional lunch period that comes during your shift. So we have the shifts from 10:45 to 11:55, 11:55 to 1:05, and 1:05 to 2:15. There's 2 different grade levels in there at each time. But really, you're going to volunteer. And if your child is eating in the cafeteria that day, you can join them in the cafeteria and volunteer there. If they're eating outdoors, you can volunteer outdoors. We're going to keep it open because, again, you have the same vaccination requirement that we do. And we'd love to just really engage you. If that's what you want to do, is you just want to volunteer for Johnny and Susie's lunch and recess, feel free to do that. We'd really, really appreciate any support you're willing to give us. So this is a big one and a slight change from what we've had in the past. Room parents and celebration leads. We will be asking for volunteers for 1 room parent per homeroom. They serve as the liaison between the classroom community, the PTA, and the teacher. They coordinate PTA items and administrivia, contributions that the PTA might need, communications on behalf of the PTA. They work with this new position we're calling the celebration lead. So if we're limiting it to 1 homeroom room parent, we want to make sure there were other opportunities for other parents to engage in some of our traditional structures. But it's also important to understand that the room parent may have to handle money, may have to make some purchasing, and may have to work with the PTA or the school regarding handling of funds. So if we have 1 room parent who's kind of the one that oversees the work in the classrooms, they also serve and support the homerooms during those celebrations. One we have coming up on October the 29th, I'll talk about here in a second. That would be our fall celebration, but we also have a fall celebration lead. That person coordinates the celebration, the activity, they work with the room parent. They may also handle money and accounts, have to account for purchases that are made. We have a similar structure in February. We're calling that right now our winter celebration lead. And then we have our end of the year celebration lead. So one of the things that we are putting into place this year is, given that you're working closely with the PTA, in order to be considered or selected for one of these positions, you must be an active PTA member. So if you haven't yet joined the PTA, please do so. I apologize, I'm being washed out by the sun now. It seems to be setting right over the window here. So I'm going to jump up here and close the windows or the blinds in a second. All right, I talked about room parents. You must be the legal parent or guardian of a child in the school in order to be considered for a homeroom room parent. I talked about you must be a PTA member. Next week, you will be getting a Google form where you can express your interest. Room parents and celebration leads will be selected randomly by school administration. So we will be doing this transparently because we know that there's going to be a keen interest in this. And I'm going to share with you a slide here in a second on why there might be a keen interest. Pardon me while I shut the blinds. And we're back, and I look better than ever. All right. So here's why this is going to be important. We have a tentative plan for our fall celebration, but due to the COVID-19 protocols, due to the guidance around large-scale community events being virtual, and again, you all are getting a sneak peek of a tentative plan that has not been released yet. We're waiting on guidance from MCPS, but we're really going to go back to what our traditional fall celebration structure looked like. We're hoping to have a parade where the students come out of the school. They can walk in a straight line, and we'll have designated areas for parents and visitors. We're going to encourage mask wearing, though we know it's not a requirement in MCPS, but you'll be cordoned off from the parade itself. We are going to then have our students go back to their classrooms for a fall celebration. Due to COVID-19, though, we're going to limit the amount of food in the building, which means masks down time. So there will be no food at the fall celebration, but that fall celebration lead will be coordinating a class activity, game, some way to celebrate it without using food. The big change is going to be that only the room parent and the fall celebration lead will be permitted to enter the classroom at that time to support the party. Those of you that have been with us for a few years remember that we would have hundreds and hundreds of people coming into the building for these celebrations, both in the fall, around Valentine's Day, at the end of the year. With COVID-19 being what it is, we can no longer support that structure. So this is why we are going to be handling the selection of these supports, these volunteers centrally. We've met with our leadership team, and they are in full agreement with this. We're going to do it transparently and randomly. And we will post those Monday, October the 11th, so that the community has an awareness of who those folks are. Another volunteer opportunity that we have is our PTA Scholastic Book Fair, which is coming up. This is hot off the press. November the 8th through the 12th would be a great opportunity for you to be able to come into school, help us with our PTA Book Fair. It's a huge fundraiser for the school, and it also puts books into the hands of children. So look for more information to come about that. So I've got a couple of questions. I want to jump into the chat here, and then you can take yourselves off mute. How do I know if I've completed the module in the last 3 years? So if you log into your MyMCPS classroom, there may be a class tile, just like you registered for the course this year. It's 2021/2022. You would have registered previously for it. However, that's not always a slam dunk yes or no. So what I'm going to ask you to do, you can contact the main office and we can provide you with that information if you should need it. Let's see, Lauren Saunders says, I followed the instructions prior to the call, but did upload my vaccination card. I know they always say don't jump ahead. That's okay. You can submit. You can go back and redo the module. You should be able to resubmit it. No worries there. But yes, so technically, Lauren Saunders, you haven't jumped ahead because this doesn't actually officially start until October the 1st. So you were a few days ahead. So you definitely have time to get that righted. Do you need to certify for each child in parent view? In my case, 3 times. You do not. That is a great question. I only had to do it 1 time. And I can tell you that once parents do it, it's not attached to the child, it's attached to the adult. So we can actually see the list with the adults on it. Signing up for the room parent, I said that on the week of October 4th, a form is going out to the entire community. I'm going to encourage them to watch this presentation so they understand what that form is. And we'll go from there. So that's all the questions in the chat. If you want to go ahead and take yourself off mute and ask your question aloud, I'm happy to answer it.
Mr. Mullenholz, I have a question. This is Nafar Palumba, who already interrupted you and asked you 2 questions in the chat. So I have 3, as I mentioned, I have 3 children at Ashburton. If I did manage to be a room parent in one of their classrooms, would there be a chance for me to go visit the others in their classroom? Like,
so that's a great question. I'm going to ask if you, I'm going to go ahead and, all right. So that's a great question. I want to add on to your question with a little bit of an explanation. So if you have 3 children and you're interested in being a room parent, I'm going to encourage you to fill the room parent Google format. If you're interested in being a room parent for one of them, fill it out 3 times in the affirmative. Because what will happen is if you're selected as a room parent for one, we're just going to take your name off the list for the others because clearly you can't be a room parent in 2 different places. You will not have the opportunity to go visit in other classrooms just because your primary function as the volunteer is to support in the classroom that you're assigned to there. However, there are other opportunities to volunteer, lunch and recess, the book fair, and other places where you'd be able to see multiple groups of kids and therefore of all of your children throughout the course of the day. One of the other options is, sometimes we are missing room parents, or we, in this case, we're adding this idea of the celebration lead. If you wanted to try to be a celebration lead 3 times on 3 different occasions, you can express an interest in that. We're going to try to make it work for as many people as we possibly can, but also encourage as many volunteers to come in as we possibly can too.
Thanks.
Yeah. Other questions? Feel free to take yourself off mute.
I do have a question. If I do have a volunteer for tomorrow's activity, so I already submit everything. I definitely can redo that, but is that any way I can keep it like this and redo it later? And for tomorrow, I don't need to resubmit the certification again.
Yeah. So as I said, technically,
October 1st, right?
Yeah. So technically,
Okay.
so you're good to go for tomorrow, as long as you've completed the recognizing and reporting child and abuse and neglect module. That's a non-negotiable. So if you've done that, you're good to go.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So some of our parents jumped in early last week. The guidance doesn't start till October 1st, but we had this trailer showing up and we needed support for that. So again, thank you for doing that. We had 2 parents that actually came today.
So if we do not have any more questions, are we good to go or?
Yeah.
Sure.
And I was giving it wait time. I'm not hearing any other questions, but if anybody wants to take themselves off mute, I'm happy to hang here. I can stop the recording and I will send it out to the community. So I do want to thank everybody for being here this evening. Please tell your friends, your neighbors, your family. We would love to have volunteers, share this information with them. And again, we're doing this to welcome you back, but also to keep everyone safe and healthy. So I'm going to stop the recording, but at this point, I can also answer other questions you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Oh, is there any way you can email this slide to us through the email?
Yes, it is. As I said before, all of this is going to be emailed out to parents. You're going to get a copy of the presentation, a recording of the meeting.